Hello, Garage fam, and welcome to another Friday Night Chats with your friendly neighborhood Garage Geek. I hope everybody is well. Um, let's jump right in. You can probably hear my voice still isn't the greatest. But I have music, records, comics, movies, shows, and books. Lots to go over with you tonight. I'm going to start with some records. So I went to the record shop just for 15 minutes right after work because I was waiting for some pizzas that I ordered. And so I got 4 records. I'm going to show the first one, which is ZZ Top. Tejas. I guess that's Tejas. Just a beautiful cover, beautiful art. And it's one of these, albums with that 70s. When you pick up some 70s rock albums, you never know what you're going to get because they just all open up in crazy ways. And so this one is really cool because it opens up and shows all 3 of the band members. I don't know if you could see that. And then it's got them rocking out on the back. And then it's got the pull-out. And yeah, it's really cool. So I've actually never owned this album. It's Warner Brothers. And so I'm sure I've heard it. But as I was looking through the songs, they didn't all seem familiar to me. So maybe I haven't. I know their first album I'm very familiar with. Yeah, and in fact, as I'm looking through this, I don't hear or read any or see any hits. And I listened, my older brother had ZZ Top's Greatest Hits. And I don't see any of those songs here. Well, anyways, we'll see. And this isn't the back, sorry. I forgot to flip it back around. Yeah, that's the actual back. But really cool art. I paid $10 for that, which is standard. I mean, not a great price, but not a bad price either. Then I pick up these 2 really cool albums, Flat and Scruggs. That was also $10, which I think was too much, but I was just enamored with having this. How cool is this? First of all, I love the color schemes. And then when you see the label is pretty cool too. Look at that label. Can you see it? Yeah, it's just a cool label. What I've heard of them, I've mostly heard people covering their music. But what I have heard, I really liked. So this is definitely going to be a fun spin. Now, another one that I I almost didn't buy. And this was Bill Monroe and Friends. And of course, I do like Bill Monroe a lot. But this is when he's older and he's, I guess, duets. You can see some of the pictures here. But there's a lot of heavy hitters on this album. Johnny Cash, Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers, Emmylou Harris, John Hartford, Waylon Jennings, Barbara Mandrell, Willie Nelson, the Oak Ridge Boys, Ricky Skaggs, and Mel Tillis. The only one I don't recognize is John Hartford. And it seems like I should based upon that lineup. Yeah, so it's just a lot of duets. And I'm sure it's going to be fun. Yeah. And finally, this one was like such a bargain. This album was $2. And as soon as I didn't know anything about it, but I was like, this has to be Beatles related, right? And so I pick it up and it's Macklemore Avenue by Booker T and the MGs. And look at that great back. So I thought, oh, it's probably Beatles covers. And that's what it is. Look at this great gatefold. The whole album is it's a Stax Records, and yeah, they're all covers. I'm pretty sure instrumentals because Booker T and the MGs are famous for Green Onions and that kind of thing. But yeah, I for $2, and when you did I show the middle? Yeah, I did. When you pull it, it's got the Stax label. It's not in perfect condition. That's probably why it was $2. I don't know if you could see, but it's not in horrible condition. for $2. And I'm really looking forward to spinning this record. I'll probably put that one on first and destroy my needle. All right. So those were the 4 albums. What do you think? I paid 10 each, except for the last one, which was $2. So what do you think? I don't know. I'm kind of like iffy on that. Oh, and next week is record store day. So got to get up early for that. Okay, next I'm going to talk about some comics that I read. I didn't read many. I was too busy watching movies. But I'm going to talk about this Star Spangled War Stories, number 150. Donald Duck Adventures, number 1. Aquaman, number 51. And Don Martin Magazine premiere issue. Let me start with the Don Martin Magazine, because I actually just read this. So, I never heard about this magazine. I don't know how many issues they put out. I have the first 3. I went ahead and read this. I was underwhelmed. The art is great. I'm sure he's most famous for Mad Magazine, I think. But it wasn't horrible. It just, the jokes weren't that funny. My favorites were this nuthead family. Maybe it gets better, but it was definitely worth it for the art and kind of the nostalgia. And then I really wish I could take this poster out. I really should, but I really don't have anywhere to put it. But it's just a really big blow up of the cover. And there's black and white parts. And he even interviews himself. And then my favorite part of the magazine was this Nutheads, with just a bunch of different gags, and it was pretty funny. But the rest was kind of like hit or miss. Yeah. So anyways, first issue of Don Martin Magazine. Let's talk about the Aquaman issue number 51. This is a 15 center. That cover is cool. You can see my issue is like really beat up. That's all right. But what a cool cover that is. And it says, "I can't hold onto you." And remember, they're underwater, so I really don't know how they're talking, but okay. Probably that's been figured out somehow in the comics, but I don't know how. So, this Aquaman issue was the cover art. I don't remember who the cover artist is. Oh wait, does it say it there? Cardi. Yeah, it says it right there, Cardi. And then the interior art. I think my issue, the art is faded. And I wondered if that made a difference. I would love to see this reprinted, but as as I read through it, I just felt the colors were faded. And to me, that made a difference, making everything duller. But the story is just really, really silly. I mean, and some of the art was pretty silly, but fun. Like, here's Aquaman, like, swooping in and smacking this guy in the head. I mean, it's very Neil Adams, but in some ways. And so the art on this is Jim Aparo. And I don't know, I'm going to say that I know Jim Aparo from Batman. This art was really good, but also really bad. I'm going to show you an example of something that I thought was just over the top and really bad. And that's going to be, what's her name? Anira, what's her name? I can't remember, but look at her. Like, this is so over the top drama. Like, oh, Aquaman, please come back. Like, it's just silly. But I mean, it is a comic book. I'm probably gonna get banned for that comment. But look at this. On the other hand, it's just this one, like the cover. It's just very like early 70s, late 60s, kind of like psychedelic. It's all that stuff is thrown in here. It's fun to read, but it's not going to be that good when it comes to storytelling. All right, yeah, my throat just broke again. Like my voice is terrible. But the second half of the issue, which you don't even know from the cover, this issue is only half Aquaman. The second half of the issue is a Dead Man story with story and art by Neil Adams. And of course, Neil Adams is just amazing. The story is ridiculously silly. Sorry, Neil Adams fans. Yeah, but it's silly in a good way. It's very tongue in cheek. Like Dead Man is playing it very straight. I don't know if that's the right term, especially coming from me, but he's playing it very straight. And then there's all these goofballs around him, and he's trying to navigate through all of this silliness, and he gets involved in it. Like this woman turns into a cat, and she rides him into this dimension. I don't know. It's really strange. And then when she gets into this dimension, she turns back into a woman. Yeah, they ride birds, like flamingo weird birds. It's just very strange. But you're gonna get this great Neil Adams art on Dead Man. And like, so for example here, they're kissing. He finally starts to like her. Yeah, just great art. Like, look at this. Look at this panel right there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, it's impressive. So overall, this was a really, really fun issue that I can really make fun of, but I totally enjoyed it. I enjoyed making fun of it. And I'm glad I own it. Okay, the next one is this Donald Duck Adventures, and this was number 1, put out by Gladstone. And at the same time, they put out Scrooge McDuck Adventures. I also have that one. I actually read half of it, but since I didn't finish it, I'm not going to show it. So this is basically reprints of Donald Duck stories, and you're going to have the cover. Then you have one gag on the back, and then I think you have Donald Duck and Isabella, and this one was done in the Netherlands. Art by Ben Verhagen. And then you have Jungle Hijinks, Donald Duck, that's done by Carl Barks. And then a back cover gag by Bob Foster and Frank Smith. I enjoyed Donald Duck and Isabella, and this is a story on a ship, and Isabella is a whale. And basically there's a lot of hijinks. The whole ship goes down in some kind of whirlpool, and there's a community living under the sea, and whenever the whirlpool goes by, there's air, so they can all go outside and you know, do things. And then when the whirlpool goes away, they have to be inside because they're surrounded by water again. Makes no sense, but it's a Donald Duck, you know, story, so whatever. The art is fun in it, and I enjoyed this one. The next one, which was very questionable because there's a lot of jungle hijinks. So they wanna the McDucks wanna you know, the junior ducks, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. They want to go to they want to enter a contest so that they could go to Africa, I think, so that they can become cameramen and film, and they want to become famous for their films. And so they go to Africa and they're filming you know, what's going on in Africa. I'm just going to say, you know, it's not the most PC stuff going on, but Donald, you know, dresses up like a native, and he's just doing all kinds of inappropriate things by today's standards. But nothing horrible. It was a lot of fun. And then like I said, the last one. Oh, here's Donald all dressed up and with the crocodile. Yeah. And then, like I said, there's this back. This was thoroughly enjoyable. You get a lot for your money because the stories are long and they are entertaining. And this one was a 95-cent comic. Totally worth the money back then. And the last comic was this Star Spangled War Stories number 150. And you could see the cover art is by Joe Kubert. And this cover does represent what happened on the inside. And there is a backup story of the Viking prince. Now, I don't read a lot of these. I imagine that a lot of the stories are going to be the same, but just reading one every now and then, I really enjoyed this. The first half. The second one we'll get to, but the art is, it's good. It's Joe Kubert. It's what's interesting is this story is told from the point of view of an enemy pilot. I guess his name is Enemy Ace, and I think he's a famous character, and he fights a whole bunch of battles, and he always wins. And then he crashes in, I believe, France, and he's got to make his way back to Germany. And along the way, it really felt Scrooge, like Scrooge, because he keeps meeting people, and they help him whenever they can, because he speaks fluent French. And but he always finds out that he has killed one of their family members. They were pilots, and he remembers the battle and shooting them out of the sky. And so it's really bittersweet because he's very thankful for them helping him, but he's using them to get back to safety. It was actually a really good story. I really enjoyed it, and the art was fine. It's I'm not a huge Joe Kubert fan, but the art was fine. Here's a picture of him there. Now, the second story was a major flop. It's just hilariously bad. So we've got this Viking prince, and he's basically a barbarian who's trying to protect his tribe. And there's this Tyrannosaurus Rex that lives under the water in a cave. And he reaches out his little arms, and he snatches their fishing nets. It's so silly. Like, here he is coming out of the game. And yeah, the whole thing is just silly and it's a romp. I just have to say that. But there are flashes of really, really interesting art in this. And the ending is just, it kind of made me laugh because he goes under to fight the T-Rex. And then she's lamenting that he's gone. And then he just pops his head up, and it's the end. With that silly grin on his face. It made me laugh because it was so silly. Oh, no, there was one more. The Marne. And this one was actually really interesting because it's a true story of a battle. So that was nice to read, too. And I'm trying to remember if the second story was also by Joe Kubert. Yeah, it was. So that one was actually, the first story was really, really good. If you can track down this comic. And then the second story is just a hoot. All right, we are done with comics. The next we're going to do is move on to movies. Now, I watched a lot of movies this week, and that's because I was painting last weekend. And after I was done painting, I was so exhausted. I would just sit in front of the TV for a long time just to kind of just like veg. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 movies to go over. So let's jump in. Now, there was a video that I watched about underrated or overlooked sci-fi movies. on Amazon Prime. And so I'm still watching them. And one of the ones that I watched this week was called Strawberry Mansion. Now, this movie was very low budget, but it was very charming. It told a really interesting story with just interesting colors and interesting visuals. And I really ended up enjoying this, but it is super low budget. If you are interested in what a filmmaker can do, this is very kind of Donnie Darko-ish. But if you're interested in what someone can do with low budget and sci-fi, and you don't mind that low budget look, to see what mood and atmosphere people can make, I think they were highly successful with what they had, and I think they did a great job. I ended up really enjoying this movie, and that one is Strawberry Mansion. But caveat, if you don't like kind of B movie low budget, you won't like this movie. I did. The next movie it came up in the feed. Like, if you like, because you like that one, try this one. And I'm like, oh, short stories, a short story collection called Tales from the Apocalypse. I was very surprised because I did not like this movie very much. And then when I looked up the reviews online, they were all saying what a great movie it is. This is super low budget. I don't mind that. It didn't grab me. The 4 stories, they were good, but they weren't anything I hadn't seen before. They cover a variety of topics, like a woman circling a black hole. She's stranded. She's on her own. An AI, a woman that's AI, and how does she deal with humanity? Because some humanity is really good, but others is really evil. And so, what does she do about that? Yeah, and the other 2 are pretty much the same kind of thing. I won't go into all the details, but I ended up thinking that it was just okay. I would give it a 2 out of 5. Whereas Strawberry Mansion, I would rate much higher. Next, I watched the movie. I finally got around to the movie Conclave. Now, this is the Academy Award nominated film, Conclave. And I'm going to say that I really, really enjoyed it, but I was also underwhelmed because it was all the hype around this movie. And that's always dangerous, because when so many people are telling you what a wonderful movie it is, and this movie is very understated. And so you get this bloated idea that it's going to be phenomenal. And it's a very good movie, but it's very slow. And in fact, for the first 40 minutes, almost nothing happens. You're just being introduced to characters, and it's building everything up. It's all necessary, but you're kind of slogging through it, and it's not in a bad way. I really enjoyed this, but because of the hype, that tarnished it for me a bit. I also had a quibble with one thing that happened at the ending. At the end, I really, really enjoyed the ending, but something happened before that just did not seem plausible at all. And that's one reason that I just didn't think that this movie was as good as everybody said it is. However, you've got phenomenal actors in this movie. What a cast this movie has, and they all do a great job. So for me, Conclave is definitely worth watching. I would give it a 4 out of 5, not a 5 out of 5, just because of the slow kind of beginning, and also because of that quibble that I have at the end. After Conclave, I decided to watch a new movie on HBO. It's got Hugh Laurie. What's his name? Hugh Grant. And it's called Heretic. And it's by A24. Fun movie. 2 Mormons visit a man's house to try, to proselytize. And he's not a good man. And it just goes wild from there. Now, this is very, very talky. If you do not like talky horror movies, you are absolutely going to hate this one. I was along for the ride. They are just going back and forth about religion and religious philosophy. God, I can't talk. Religious philosophy. And that is something I really, really enjoy. And when you throw into the mix the power struggle, because, initially they're just going back and forth little by little, but over time, he's got real power over the two visitors to his house. And the way that plays out when it comes to the religious angle, I thought this was such a fun movie. Now, of course, it is a movie of, well, I'm not going to spoil anything. You got to like horror movies in order to enjoy this movie. All right. Next, I saw that Interstellar was leaving Netflix. And I thought, okay, I'm going to watch it. Now, I've watched Interstellar so many times. It's one of my absolute favorite movies. A lot of you out there don't like it. Well, that's okay. I love this movie. I watch it over and over again, and I still am emotionally impacted by this movie. I love it. That water planet still freaks me out. It's such a great scene in the movie. And just everything, I just really love the movie Interstellar, and I watched it again. Next, I watched Kraven the Hunter. So if you're not familiar with Kraven the Hunter, he's a Spider-Man villain. Now, Spider-Man purists are not going to like this movie at all. In fact, this movie bombed. I really don't know why. It's not that bad. In fact, there were a couple scenes, especially there's this one scene where he's going throughout the city chasing some people. So well done. However, they make Kraven from a villain into an anti-hero. And they change a lot of other stuff about the mythos around this character, which I could see a lot of people not liking. However, once you get past that, it's a pretty good movie. Now, I also knew that this movie had flopped and it was a bomb. And I went in and I was like, oh, this is actually a really good movie. Had I gone into this movie, without knowing that, maybe my opinion might be a little bit different. I might have been disappointed. But I actually enjoyed this movie for what it is. It is certainly not an amazing movie, but it is fun. It's got a lot of good special effects. There's going to be characters in this movie that pop up that people familiar with Spider-Man are going to know about. One of them is the Chameleon, and I had a couple of real issues with the way they dealt with his powers, but I'm not going to go into that here. Kraven the Hunter is worth watching if you like popcorn action movies. If you want something more serious than that, then this is not the movie for you. And I have two more. So yesterday, I was finished with a movie. I can't remember which one. Oh, I watched A Real Pain, which is the one I'm going to talk about next. And I saw Arrival, and I thought, well, I watched Interstellar, my favorite movie, one of my favorites. So I'm going to watch Arrival again, and loved it. This movie is, to me, a masterpiece. It's so good, and every time I watch it, I'm always entertained. I love how this movie plays with time. I just think it's a great, great movie. And I watched it, I don't know how many times I've watched it so far. I still love the movie Arrival. It's a great movie. Five stars on that one. And finally, the last movie that I watched was A Real Pain. And this was the gem of the bunch. Wow, did I enjoy this movie. This movie's not going to be for everyone. It's a drama where you have quirky characters and they go on a journey, a road trip. And, hijinks ensue. But if you're the type of person that likes character studies and, watching people go through kind of like family, trauma and history and drama and all that kind of stuff, well, then you're going to really like this movie. I thought it was so well acted and well written. two cousins who are estranged from each other go on a trip to Poland to visit where their grandmother grew up. Their grandmother was a survivor of a concentration camp, and so they take a tour, and they're on a tour with about 4 or 5 other people, and they actually do go to a concentration camp. I read afterwards that this was the first movie where they were ever actually allowed to actually film a movie inside of the concentration camp, which was interesting. We go through the concentration camp with them. This movie was so good. I really really enjoyed it. But caveat, if you don't like these kind of road trip movies, where characters are like, loving and then fighting and like they're getting, their family basically, then I don't know if you'll like this, but man, did I enjoy this movie so much. Of all the movies that I watched, I would say that this was the best of the bunch. Whew. All right, shows. Severance. I'm still watching Severance. Still love it. And I did watch The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, and that's a 6-episode spin-off of The Walking Dead that deals with Rick and Michonne, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. I'm a big Walking Dead fan. I stuck through it all through the entire series. Most people dropped off in the middle, not me. I liked it, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. If you are one of the people who dropped off in the middle, you might not like this show. I did. Now, there are going to be things in this show that even like I didn't like. And that it seems like they were really gearing toward fans of the shippers. There were a lot of fans who wanted Rick and Michonne to get together, and they finally made that happen. And a lot of people got mad because it seemed like they were pandering to the fans. Well, this whole show, there's going to be a lot of like romance and sex scenes, and it felt like, what do you call that? Like fan fiction with sex in it, but it doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. And then once you get through those scenes, you really do have a fun, action-packed show with a lot of, like villains and, zombies, and, it's a Walking Dead show. It was fun. Okay, so now the 3 books, and I'm going to be almost done. I do want to say that Perfume Genius has a new CD out, and I've been listening to it. It's getting really mixed reviews. I'm definitely enjoying the 2 singles. The other songs are kind of hit and miss, but I am enjoying it. I'm a fan of Perfume Genius though, and I thought I got the album cover, but maybe I didn't port it over from my phone. Okay, the books that I read. The first one was like, I don't know, the 15th or the 16th book in the Richard Stark Parker novels series. And this one is called Fire Break. This is the first time in this series where I feel like it's kind of slowing down. There was nothing wrong with this book. It was still exciting. It's still very, very well written. It's just, I've been with this character so long already, and nothing that's happening is really new or different. Now, what this did was it's continuing to bring back characters from earlier in the series and dealing with the aftermath of actions that he took with those characters and having to deal with them, all while also doing a heist. And even the heist is going back to something that happened in earlier books. So in earlier books, they did a heist where they stole a bunch of paintings, and 3 of the paintings were for a private buyer. Well, in this book, some crooks stumble upon a secret compartment in a basement when they're robbing a really rich guy, and they can't get into it, but they believe, or no, they did get into it, but they didn't have time to rob it or something like that. But they realized that those are the paintings that they had stolen on another heist. So they get a hold of Parker and ask him if he wants to join in and trying to get those paintings. And that's how it starts. I did really enjoy this book. It just felt a little bit samey for me, but I would still give this a 4 out of 5. Really good book. I am almost done with the series, I think. I don't have many more to finish. Maybe I should take a little break before I continue with the rest, but I probably won't. Next, another book by C.S. Lewis called The Screw Tape Letters. This supposedly is one of C.S. Lewis's most popular books. He wrote it and said that he did not enjoy writing this at all, and he was glad when it was finished. Later, he wrote a kind of sequel to it, and he never wanted to, but he did it in a very different way. Now, what this is a series of letters written from like a senior demon to his younger nephew, who is just getting into the like a soul damning business. And it's letter after letter of giving him advice on what to do to keep the soul that he's harvesting from turning to Christianity and actually being lost to the enemy. It's a really cool idea. The execution is a bit dry. It's very philosophical in many parts. Many parts are a lot of fun, but you do kind of slog through these letters that really, it's like reading Christian doctrine of the Middle Ages. Like, that sounds exciting. But from the point of view of a demon. And instead of talking about how to keep all souls righteous, it's showing how you could easily damn a soul. And it's written in such a way that we get the idea of the way people should act to be good Christians. And it's just got that fun twist on it. But I would give this book about a 3 to 3.5 out of 5, just because of those sloggy parts of the letters. This would actually be a good book to revisit, maybe in about 5 or 10 years. I think I would get more out of it the more that you actually listen to this book, because, like I said, there's a lot of kind of philosophizing about humanity and the way humans are supposed to act. And the funniest parts of the book is when they're talking about how despicable humans are, how gross they are, talking about how humans are food, like that we're like their cattle. To them, those were the kind of moments in this book that were really probably a lot of fun, and probably the parts that C.S. Lewis did not enjoy writing. The last book was an extremely short book. It was only 3 hours in audio. And this was Hunchback by Sao Ichikawa. And this was longlisted for the International Booker Prize. Man, is this book weird. It's good. If you want to read a freaky book, then you might want to read this. It starts out, you're in a sex club and you're someone's reporting on just like weird sex practices. And then we come out of that and we find out it's a disabled woman, and she writes blogs for sex, like sex articles for blogs. Even though she can never go to those places, she writes all about them and gets money that way. Now, the rest of this book is about a woman who is, extremely disabled. She can't even, there's this one great part where she talks about how people who can actually read books physically are lucky, because her body can't form the position of being able to read a book and turn the page because of the way, like, she's got these tubes that she has to constantly keep free of mucus. And she's very, very angry and bitter at able-bodied people because they have everything and they just take it all for granted. There's a lot of these kind of things in here, and she is very angry. And you have to take her character with a grain of salt, right? Because she, we're getting her. She's not a very pleasant person to read about, right? But as we see her go through her daily grind, we kind of understand like what life must be like for her and why she is bitter and angry at the way she's treated, at the way she has to live her life. It's just a strange, fascinating, weird book because there's a lot of like weird sex in it. Like one big arc in this book is this woman wants to experience life like able-bodied people. She wants to be able to have sex and get pregnant and to get an abortion. And that's an important part of this because she doesn't want the responsibility of taking care of a child. She doesn't want to give birth possibly to a disabled child, although that was also something that was mentioned in this book about how disabled children are treated even before birth. It was really interesting. But she wants to be able to get pregnant just because she can, and then she wants to have an abortion just because she can. I mean, these kind of things make this character just so oddly, like, kind of detestable. But on the other hand, you kind of see where she's coming from because of the way she's had to live her life. And the author does a really good job of making us think about this character. It's such a weird and strange book that I'm going to recommend it just because, if nothing else, you're going to be like, what the heck, as you read this book. And that brings me to the end. I think I need some tea because my throat is all scratchy. I will see you next Friday, and then next Saturday is record store day. So that's going to be fun. And I'll be starting my week off. I have to actually start doing my taxes tomorrow. Boo. Like, that's, whoever wants to do that. That's just so nasty. But I want to thank you if you've watched this. If you want to leave comments, please. I wasn't very good at getting the comments on my videos this week. I will catch up. I was just so burnt out, I think, from like the painting I was doing, and then I was just watching a lot of movies. So there you go, have it. But I'll do better at it this week. And like I said, I want to thank all of you for the continued support.